Okay, everybody, welcome. And welcome everybody new. Welcome everybody who's been here for a while. I know it's short notice for getting started here a little on the early side, but this is going to be pretty casual here for the live stream's pretty casual anyway. But the first half hour here, I'm just going to take some questions, and if there aren't a ton of burning questions up front, I'll do a little quick tour of how to find things, and there's some regular existing members on here too, so you can always ask questions. I always say the best search engine, the best way to find things is to ask in the forum, because there's lots of experienced folks there who know where to find what you're looking for and can tell you where that is. If I'm looking over this way, it's because the chat's over here and I'm trying to keep an eye on everything and make sure I see all your questions. But first of all, I just really want to welcome everybody who's new. There's something like 40 or 50 new folks here over the last week or so. So welcome, and I hope you find what you're looking for here. And if you've got a question, just have at it, post away. A couple of reminders: if you're watching on the website, I cannot see things posted in the conversation below the video, but if you look inside the video window where it says watch on YouTube and you click on that, it'll take you out to the wider world of YouTube, and there'll be a chat window down the right hand side of the page, and you can put your questions for me there, and you can see what other people are saying. So if you're new, say so and tell us where you're from, and maybe just a little bit about what you've been doing and until you joined, and why you've come here and what you hope to work on. And we'll start with that. And while you're doing that, I'll put the website on screen and let you know a couple of things about what to look for and where to find it. Okay, Ken says the vocals are a little low. Let me know. When I hear from a few other people, I'll see about that, because sometimes it's one person's system, and sometimes it is me. So, for starters, well, Will, you're so much closer, right? Will is in Austin, where I am, and Ken is in England, which I sometimes wish is where I was. But when you log in, you go to the library first, and the library has some different things in it, like the 6-week start. So if you're looking for the 6-week start, I'll come back on screen for a minute. If you're looking for the 6-week start, that is in your library, which is what you see right after you log in, and that has got. Let's see. Let me see if I can actually put the 6-week start on screen. That would be wise. Hang on. Let's see. Yeah, I can. I'm gonna do that for y'all. Yeah. So if you're in the library, you can click on the 6-week start. That looks like this. And the 6-week start is a great place to go if you are relatively new to fingerstyle. What it has, literally, if you're like, what should I work on? I broke this material up into 6 weeks. If it takes you more than 6 weeks, that's fine. But I was just trying to create something where you could just go in and get some short, specific things to work on. So this series, 6 Steps to Playing Fingerstyle Blues in E, has been available in the past on YouTube, but in this case, it's been broken up into smaller lessons that are more digestible. They're like 4 minutes long to 1 minute long, and there's tab for everything also. And when you click on the short videos, I believe there are links to the tab on every page. Yeah, downloads. All 3 of the video lessons for lesson 1 use the same lesson 1 PDF. It is attached redundantly to each of the 3 videos. That's Ben's work. Ben is my editor, and he's a genius. So each week you can do a bit of work on your steady bass blues in E, and then I also broke out a lesson on either learning the notes on the fingerboard or working on your right hand technique. And again, like just one short lesson per week. I think this one is, it's 2 minutes long. And it's just like about learning the notes a little further up the neck so you can start finding where the notes are. And then there are some lessons on groove. These are more like essays. This is just, there's a certain way that I talk about thinking about groove here in the membership. So this first one is about the difference between steady bass and alternating thumb. This one is about just thinking about groove and syncopation. And this one is one on how we talk about varying the bass. So it's just stuff that, you'll see people talking about in the forum, you'll hear me talking about. And so these videos over here on the right are just kind of overview. You don't have to do any real work. There's no tab for these. I might play some examples, but they're just more just to get you familiar with the lay of the land. And, when you're tired of practicing and you just want to, watch me riff about some concept or other, it's a good way to use that time and those links. So that's the 6-week start. Again, that's in the library. And so that's one good place to start. And then the other place to start is, of course, with this month's song. Now, when you're on the main page, once you're on the library, if you click through to the Fingerstyle 5, you'll see all of this stuff. This is a calendar. This tells you when the live streams are happening. They are almost always Thursdays at 2:30 p.m., the first, second, and third Thursday of the month, except when they aren't, which sometimes if I'm traveling for a gig or there's a holiday or, sometimes there's like family stuff. I try to keep it consistent as possible. I know already that I'm going to have to maybe change something in November, just 1 week in December or November or both. And I'll try to get word out about those as soon as possible. I see there's some questions in the chat. I'm going to get to those in just a second. But this is where you'll find whatever is most current. There's often an announcement up here about what's going on in the forum, in the membership. This will just take you home. This link is kind of useful. This gives you, like, if you like this kind of navigation better, you just click on these arrows. These are some quick links. There's also there's a menu bar up here and some of the same things over here. A couple of important things. The forum. Go to the forum and, say hello. Just, again, tell us who you are, why you joined, what you're doing here, where you're from. If you really don't want to say anything about that, then just share a picture of your favorite guitar. Everybody loves guitars. Music theory, there's a link up here. If you want to look at our planner to start practicing, figuring out what to work on each week in a more organized way. I have a whole bunch of lessons that go with the planner to help you figure out how to schedule your time and use it efficiently to learn the stuff we're working on. But the main thing here is the current song. So we're going to work on Pony Blues this month. And when you click through, the first month always has this intro video where I just give an overview of the song. And this is where you can download the PDF. Just use this blue-green button and click on it. You'll see there's the name of the file. It's a PDF file. And at least on Firefox, that will just make it open. And what I have to do in Firefox is go up and do Save Page. Wait a second. Oh, for heaven's sake, let me get back to my own website. This is kind of a home button also. So when you're looking at Pony Blues, you'll see there are multiple versions of the song. So there's the fundamental, which we're going to start talking about in 20 minutes here. That is the most basic version of the song. And I made these short videos where I play it at tempo and then I play it slowly. There are ways to take the YouTube live streams and loop them and slow them down. People talk about that on the forum. If you want some help with that, just post a question and you can get some assistance with that. These videos don't have built-in looping and slowdown, so I just play them at tempo and I play them slowly. But you can look at them as much as you want. And then there are each sort of additional set of moves you can do to the tune are included in a separate version. Hey now, stop that. So there's an embellished version number 1, played at tempo and slowly. There's an embellished version number 2, played slowly and up to tempo. And then there's also a vamp, which is part of sort of putting the tune together. We're going to talk about that more this afternoon as well. So you want to go to the home page to find the current song. As you can see over the course, this was the summer set of lessons. So in July, we started a tune called Ides of March, which was a blues of mine in E. And so we did all the stuff that we're going to do this month, but we did it for Ides of March. Then the next month, we did an improvisation lesson. So we talked about how to improvise on the song. We're going to do that in November for Pony Blues. And then the third month is when we talk about arranging, how to put a complete version of the song together. So that'll be December for Pony Blues. So 3 months. The song, the improvisation, and the arranging. And then down here, this is important too. These are the archives. So this is where everything we've ever done shows up. They're just sorted into traditional tunes and original tunes or contemporary tunes. So you can go to the archive and you can find the same layout. If you want to learn How Long Blues, you'll find all the same stuff. So the short videos and then the live streams, all that is waiting for you if you want to work on a different song or you want to work on 2 songs at once or whatever. Okay, so that's just the basics. If you want to know where to start, I always tell people, if we're at the beginning of a quarter, start with the current month, because lots of people like to do that. And that means that while you're working on the song, people will be talking about that song in the forum. I'll be talking about it during the live streams. You can ask questions during the live stream if you have a question about, the fingerings or the technique, or, if you think there's a typo in the tab, which there probably is, you can find out about it there. So I recommend going through the song in real time if you can. And if you can't be at the live streams, you can check out the replays, which are available almost immediately afterwards. And you can even post a question ahead of time in the forum, which is in general, the forum is the best place to post. Sending me emails, I sometimes get them and I sometimes don't. But here's one very important thing you should know. If you ever have a problem with your, just the nuts and bolts, like if you can't get your password access to work, or if you're having trouble with your credit card or any of those kinds of things, I know that stuff can be super infuriating if it's not working. So go to this link right here, customer support. Mary is the person who takes care of all of that stuff. She is really on top of it. She will get back to you usually within an hour or 2, and she can solve just about any problem with registration, password. If you need to, you should be able to go up here and cancel yourself when you need to. And makes me sad, but I know people have to cancel. So I promise I am not trying to make it hard to cancel, but I realize that some people have a hard time finding the cancellation and finding their billing. So I don't want that to ever be a problem. So if you have any issues, we'll just do it by hand. Just click on customer support and we'll take care of you. Okay, we got some questions. So let's see what we got here. And some comments. Okay, Mark. Oh yeah, I saw you register. Welcome. New here from Alexandria, Virginia. Cool. Can't wait to improve my fingerstyle blues. Been working through the acoustic guitar fingerstyle method book. Oh, good. Yeah, you'll see a lot of sort of familiar terms here because I sort of tend to think about it the same way, whether it's in the books or it's here. Let's see. Steve. Welcome, Steve. West Wales. All right. I think there's a couple other people from that part of the world. Slowly going through the 6-week start. New to fingerpicking at 72. It's slow progress. Well, it is all progress is progress, though, right? Let me know how the 6-week start is going. If you have any questions about that, or you just want to let me know how it's happening. Oh, David from Toronto, welcome. I mean, I know you've been here a while, but glad to see you could just stick your head in. Oh yeah, Scott says do the planner. Scott's your guy. he's been posting his planner progress in the forum, which has been fun to watch, and you're welcome to do that too. But if you want to do the planner, it's you can find it here. Go to the planner link up here and go through these lessons. You can download there's a downloadable planner, and there's a whole bunch of lessons on sort of how to think about it and implement it. They're not too long. Let's see. Kevin, loving this tune, excited to pick up more tips. Singing, adding singing to the arrangement. Super important to me. In Towson, Maryland. Okay. Or Situate. Yes, we will talk about accompaniment when we talk about arranging in December. But there are previous lessons. Any of the traditional tunes over the last maybe year and a half, I've included lessons on accompaniment. So if you go to, say, oh, come on, there we go. If you go into the archive, the traditional archive, I think everything going back to either Jack of Diamonds or Trouble in Mind, you can find accompaniment lessons. So Trouble in Mind, let's see. Yeah, shout chorus and accompaniment. So yeah, so when we were doing the arranging, we talked about that. And let's see if we can find a PDF for this. It should be right here. I don't know if I can get this. Yeah, so here's the PDF for Trouble in Mind arranging. And let me see if I can find where we did the accompaniment. Sorry, this is like scrolling through. It's probably very annoying to watch. Okay, yeah, so here's some accompaniment stuff. For instance, so the tune, oh, sorry, let me go on screen for the guitar part and then I'll come back. So Trouble in Mind in E with a steady bass. So the accompaniment is really pretty, you know, if you look at the tab here real quick, and then I'll come back on screen and show it to you too, but it's really a matter of mostly of taking out the melody from the guitar and then, you know, doing some stuff to sort of play fills. So the idea is, and again, like this is, Trouble in Mind is just like a great bass line tune. It's simple. I mean, it's a great tune to, not bass line, but bass line, like setting a bass line. It's a great, you know, it's a simple 8-bar blues in E. A lot of tunes we play in are in E, so Trouble in Mind's a nice simple one to start with. And, you know, the idea is just, you know, if you're playing the melody with your fingers, and you want to accompany your vocals, well, the first thing you do is not play the melody with your fingers. Just playing the bass, right? And then maybe just play a bit of a chord on the downbeat. And then when the vocal is at rest and there's space, just, you know, rolling through a little bit of the chord. And then same thing on the A. And you can see that now the vocal and the guitar are going to kind of just like dodge and weave with each other. So you've got trouble in mind, I'm blue. And there the guitar kind of fits in to fill that gap. But I won't be blue always. Right? So it's kind of logical, but I do like write this stuff out, and then, you know, there's some advanced stuff too, like, oh, if you want to sort of play fancier or busier between the vocals, there's ways to work on that. So you can do that, and we will, of course, talk about that for Pony Blues. It's just not officially until December. So, okay, I see some more questions or comments anyway. Jim says, I started as a beginner guitarist 5 years ago. I didn't realize you were a beginner when you started, Jim. That's kooky. Good for you, man. I started as a beginner 5 years ago when I was 57. Hang in there. You'll find improvement quicker than you thought. Oh, wonderful. All right. I knew you'd been working here a long time, but I didn't realize that you had started from scratch. Kevin says, these have all been helpful. Working on House of the Rising Sun and Gambler's Blues. Actually played Gamblers at a few open mics recently. Oh, wow. So like that, did you actually play that version of St. James Infirmary from here at the open mic? That would be very cool if that's what happened. Mark. Oh, would like to learn how to sing and play at the same time. Yeah. I mean, so would I on some level. We can talk about that. Bring that up again. Post it in the forum, and also when we get to the arranging month, sort of remind me that that's sort of an issue, like the coordination between the singing and the playing, and we can talk about that some more. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Question from Keith. This is the classic. How important is it to have longer nails on the picking hand? I bite my nails. Not important at all. I like to have just enough nail so that it supports the skin. I play with the skin. I don't play with the nails. But if the nails are too short, then the skin kind of folds over the nail, and that gets uncomfortable. Like the nail cuts into the skin. So I'm not into that. But I don't actually play with my nails. And I don't think anybody except classical guitar players really do. So it's not really important as far as I'm concerned. And then Will's question, I have played with finger picks, mostly for volume. And as soon as I got a guitar with good pickups in it, I stopped playing with them because typically you use a thumb pick and two finger picks. And what would happen was I would get to a gig and I'd be like, why does this feel so awkward? And I realized it wasn't the picks were awkward because I was comfortable with the picks. It was that I was playing bare-fingered at home because I wasn't worried about volume. And I was using my ring finger. So I was grabbing chords, the ring finger would grab the top string and then I would get out to play and I'd worked out these arrangements at home and suddenly I was missing one of my digits effectively. So I bagged them. I like them. I think that the big thing with finger picks is they didn't make sense to me until somebody showed me how to shape them. And I actually learned to use them from a dobro and pedal steel teacher. Fats Kaplan gave me a set of his picks and explained like you need to kind of like take a needle nose plier and just kind of shape them to if you just sort of stick them on, they're going to be pointing straight out, and that's super awkward. You need them to kind of curve around your finger. So I don't have a set right nearby, but I can grab some at some point and show you what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah. Your 13-year-old. Nice. Yeah, my 17-year-old is learning to play, and I have to pretend that I can't hear her practicing. Otherwise, she's like, "Don't listen to me practice." And then once in a blue moon, she comes out and asks for help, and I'm all excited. New guitar. Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, you definitely have to post pictures of that. Bruce has been around here for quite some time. And if you've got a new 0018, then we all want to know about it. Okay, well, we're going to get started in just about 5 minutes with Pony Blues. But if you keep those questions coming, if anybody has another navigation question, anything about finding anything, everybody's okay so far, finding what they need to on the website. If you aren't, let me know. I can try to explain where things are. But basically, check out the 6-week start, and look at the short lessons and the tab for Pony Blues. Those are the basics. Go to the forum and come to the live streams when you can. Oh, this is an important point. This happens a lot. Someone will always want to know where the live streams are after they take place. Where are they archived? And as soon as I can hack my way back into my own website, I'll show you. Just give me a second here. I want to get back and show you where those live. Okay. Very tricky. When you want to find the live streams, you go to the month and you go, the short videos look like this. Then the live streams look like this, they have the big white panel on the top and the big lettering telling you what the topic is, right? So the first week, we're going to talk about the fundamental. The date for the live stream is here too. Next week, we'll talk about the embellished. Third week, we'll talk about the band. You click through here to see the lesson, the live stream, and you can go, this is the watch on YouTube button, right? So that'll take you to YouTube in the chat. And then the place that we archive them afterwards is the exact same place. So basically, the live streams continue to live on the page that they were streamed from. So if you go back to September, here are the live streams here are the pages for the 3 different live streams that we did. And here's the archived live streams. Like if I click on this, it'll start playing and it'll be from last month. So, and also, Jody and sometimes Todd and sometimes Ricky, and sorry if I'm forgetting anybody. I don't know if Bill does this too. There's a handful of folks who go through and index the live streams. So you don't have to watch the whole hour if you're looking for something particular. Everything is basically, got these timestamps. So you can, I think if you click through to watch on YouTube, the timestamps might be live. Like you might actually be able to just click on them and right. So if you click through and watch them on YouTube, then these are hot links. So if you're like, oh, discussion of the kinds of licks and chords David tends to use when playing and ending on tunes like this one. Great. And you click. Daniel, could you show the ending? I look very perplexed there. I can't help that. Okay. So that's where the replays live. Okay. Let's see some. Oh, good. Okay. Tommy Emmanuel plays without a pick, but he does play with a thumb pick usually, I think. Yes. It's really easy to tear long nails, especially on steel strings. Bruce. Oh, I like how you incorporated a prior vamping ideas to cross-pollinate across songs over the last song or two. Yeah, I got a positive response on that from a few people, and I will try to do that more. It didn't occur to me that people would want to see similar material in different places. I was trying not to repeat myself, and then it turns out it's actually, I don't know why I didn't think of this. Yeah, it turns out it's helpful to see the same thing in different contexts. So that's how I did the soloing over the summer, and that's how we're going to do the soloing this fall as well. Okay. Okay, James Taylor, right. Another question from Keith. How will I know when my playing is good enough with these tunes to perform in an open mic? That is a really profound question. And here's a good answer from Abraham, recorded on a phone. That's a great answer. Record on a phone in your voice memos, and if you can run it through smoothly and listen back without too much cringing. You can also post it here on the forum. We'd love to hear it. Bear in mind that when you go live, when you play in front of real people at an open mic, you will invariably play it faster than you mean to, just because of nervous energy. And that will, of course, make it harder to play than it already was. So there's no way really to be ready for playing live. You kind of have to go and do it, and it I mean, you can try to work your way up to it by playing for one person. Drag a friend over to the house and be like, hey, listen to me play this. Or, if you have a long-suffering spouse, partner, whatever, who will listen, eventually you'll just have to get up and play. And, everybody will tell you the first couple times could be ugly, right? But you just got to get back on the horse and do it. I've had so many experiences like this. It's just, the way to get good at it is by going and being not good and then going back and doing it again. Will you please discuss the relationships between the notes in the embellished number 2, measure 3, and measure 4? And I'm using the 3rd, 6th, 5th root, etc. Yes, I'll try to get to that. Hello, Valerie. Hello, everybody. Okay, gosh, it's after 2:30, and we have tons of people here. Oh my God, there's like hundreds of people. Well, over 100 people. That's fun. Welcome, everybody. 114. Here we go. That's a lot of guitar players. That's a lot of strings. Okay, let's get to it. Let's talk about Pony Blues. I seem to have an obsession with horses this year. I didn't really make the connection that we had done horses as the visual theme for Ides of March. And now, of course, we have horses for Pony Blues. But let me play through I've been playing the tune a lot lately, but I can play through a quick version of it. So let me just play the vamp and the fundamental version. So just the vamp, the tune, the vamp. Bonsoir, Julianne. Good to see you. And Sven from Sweden. Nice. Yes, Scott. Also, Miss Henderson's Riding Academy. Lots of horses. Okay. This week we're going to look at the fundamental tune. Just by that I mean the simplest, sort of the minimal viable, like as the internet boys would say, it's like the minimal viable product, right? It's like the simplest way you can play Pony Blues and still have it sound like Pony Blues, like really sound like a song. What we're going to look at today are some rudiments, which are right hand exercises to get your thumb and fingers synced up. We're going to look at the tune. We're going to take it apart and put it back together using the horizontal 3-step. We're going to isolate the bass and look at that, isolate the melody, look at the phrasing, put it back together, and then I think that's pretty much what we're going to cover today, because the vamp will do in 2 weeks. So let's start with a couple of exercises, right? So one of the main challenges is just getting this to happen, right? Thumb and fingers together. And before you go to do the notes on the fingerboard, it can really help to work out some of the basic rhythms that you need to be able to execute. So this is a steady bass tune in E, and so quarter notes in the bass, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And I am muting with my palm right down here where the strings meet the bridge, just to get that thump. Personal preference, but I think it also helps to differentiate the melody from the bass. So this first exercise is just a 1-measure exercise where you play on the downbeat, on beat 1, with your finger while you play with your thumb. So it's going to look like and sound like this. We're going to pinch on beat 1, and then play 3 more bass notes. So these are just good warm-ups. These are things you want your hands to be able to do. And if you do it isolated from what you have to worry about over here, it's a lot easier to start working on. Now here we're going to play on beats 1 and 2. Right? So pinch on beat 1, pinch on beat 2, play 2 more bass notes. And then we'll play on beats 1 and 3. So on the first and third bass note. The bass is still just playing quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you don't have to play it this fast either. I tend to rush when I'm teaching. 1, 2, 3. Because I get excited about the ideas and I want to show them as quickly as I can. And then we can play on... Hey, stop that. Then we can play on beats 1 and 2 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, the idea is just can you get your finger to do what you want, where you want it to, while the thumb just does its independent thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's just quarter notes, right? Just putting notes on the beat in sync with the thumb. The next thing is to put notes on the ands, right? So if you're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So in the first exercise, we're going to put it on 1 and then keep the bass going. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then we'll try to do that on the first 2 beats. And these notes in parentheses mean you can still hear the note, but you don't have to pick it again. So I've put these little vertical bars here to show you where the pinches are, right? So you can see where the thumb and the finger are lined up. So in this second exercise of 8th notes, we'd have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then here, hello, Ravi. We can do 1 and 3 and. 1 and thumb alone on beat 2, 3 and thumb alone on beat 4, 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and. And you don't have to swallow these whole, right? You don't have to do all of them on day 1. Just as you go through the month, just spend a little time using these for warm-ups. You don't spend a ton of time on them. This last one is on 1 and then again on 4 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Blake has arrived. Okay, so then syncopations, right? So basically a simple definition of syncopation around here is that you are starting on the and instead of, there's nothing, like it's a bass note alone, and then you're hearing something on the and. That's where you're going to begin the phrase, right? So syncopated in the sense that if you start on the and, it's kind of like the emphasis is on an offbeat. So here we have, now if you just forget about this note right here, this is something we've already done. We've played on beats 2 and. But here we're not going to play on beat 1 with the finger, but we are going to play on the and of 1. So this sounds like, this first example sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And now I've highlighted the syncopated part, right? Where it's thumb and then finger. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. In this next example, we're going to play syncopated on the first beat and then play 2 and 3 and 4 and with the fingers. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. For the next example, we're going to play on the and of 1 and on the and of 2 and then play 8th notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then here we're going to play on the and. We're going to syncopate on beat 1 and 2 and, also on 4 and then these will be on the beat. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then what if we syncopate in the middle of the bar? So here we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and here we have quarter note, eighth note, and the syncopation. So and now we're going to syncopate on the first and the third beat. So sorry, I played that wrong. We're syncopating all of this. So this is 1 and 2 and 3 and then here we're playing on the downbeats. So, and then finally, this one we got syncopation on 1 and 2 and 4 and. So. And these rhythms will show up in real music. This is all just for the right hand, just to kind of have something to work on, to tighten up that aspect of your playing. So if we take the whole tune and we apply this idea of just isolating the rhythms, we end up with this idea that I call the rhythmic contour of the song, where you're just looking at what's going on with the melody. So for instance, if you take that opening phrase and you just break it down to its rhythm, here's the original phrase. And the practice, like just these two bars, would be and then a bar in between, just to sort of give your hand something to do and to regroup. And the idea is, there's a lot going on. If you just sit down to do this, there's a lot happening. But if you can first just get this part going, if you can execute that rhythm with confidence, then doing this, it's going to be so much easier. So I basically took all 6 phrases from Pony Blues and made a little 2-bar exercise out of them. And they're 2 bars so that you have like a bar to rest in between, which lets you kind of come back in and focus on this. So here's the next phrase, right? And that breaks down rhythmically to this. And then the next phrase breaks like so this. That breaks down to these 2 exercises. So the first one is next one is, and I see your question, Kevin, which is a good one. I'll answer that in a second. And then here we're now in the third line. Right. So then finally, for the phrase, we have this exercise. So again, this is like, don't try to do all of these, right? It's just as much of this as you need, as much of this as you can sort of, if it's helping, you know, if it sort of gets you feeling like, oh yeah, this is helping me tighten up what I'm doing. If it just feels like a pain in the neck, you know, nobody's going to make you do They're strictly on a voluntary basis, but they might help. So here's the fundamental. So what we're going to do is there are short videos of this already played up to tempo and played slowly. But I'll play through it one time here, and then we'll look at how to break it down using the horizontal 3-step. And I'll play it a little bit slower. So this is the fundamental version of Pony Blues. That's the first line. Here's the next line. Third line now with the pickup phrase. And then you go around again. But what we're going to do first is look at just the bass. So I've highlighted the bass here. And the reason to highlight the bass is that the bass, the part you're playing with your thumb, is telling you so much about the tune. It's the entire rhythm section. I know I've said this a million times to some of you, but it is. It's telling you what chord you're on, what tempo you're playing, what the basic groove is. It's telling you the form of the tune, meaning what is the chord progression and how long does it last for. So a huge first step towards being able to play music without looking at the tab is to learn the chord progression of the song you're playing. Because if you know the chord progression in your head, you can't get lost because you'll know where you are in the tune. And that is a big part of being able to just sit and play, either by yourself or with other people, and know what's going on without looking at a piece of paper, which personally I think is a really important goal. So if we look at what the bass is doing, the first line, it's just E. And then in the next line, we have 2 bars of A and 2 bars of E. And then in the third line, we have 2 bars of B and then 2 bars of E. So that would correspond, in the key of E, E is considered the 1 chord because it's built on the first note of the E scale. A is the 4, E, F, G, A. It's built on the 4th note of an E scale. And B is the 5. It's built on E, F, G, A, B, the 5th note of the E scale. I forgot to point out where it is, but there's a whole set of sort of beginning theory lessons also up in the top of the menu bar on the website. Just go to where it says theory if you want to learn more about that kind of stuff. So I'll just play through this one time. What you would do is just practice playing the thumb by itself, which may seem crazy because it's not hard, but it's important to be able to remember what's going on. So we'd have 1 bar, 2nd bar, 3rd bar, 4th bar. Now I'm going to the next line. My thumb's going to go up 1 string. I'm on the A chord, the 4 chord for 2 bars, and then I'm back to the 1 chord, E. I'm coming up to the 3rd line now. I have to play a B for 2 bars, and then I'm back to E. So that's isolating the bass. That's step 1. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to try to memorize that. See if you can do it without looking. The next thing to do is to isolate the melody. And there are a couple reasons for this. And the main reason is to get familiar with the phrasing of the melody. This is an instrumental arrangement of a vocal tune. Vocal tunes have phrasing, just like spoken language has phrasing, right? So the way to start remembering or memorizing what the fingers are doing is to learn phrase by phrase. And learning a phrase is like, learning a phone number. Well, nobody learns phone numbers anymore. But if you've ever tried to memorize your bank's routing number or tried to memorize, nobody memorizes phone numbers anymore either, right? But if you had to memorize, any string of information, it's much easier if you can break it down, like a social security number, right? That's like 3 digits and 2 digits and 4 digits. Or, I don't know what the equivalent is outside of the US because I'm, I won't go there. Anyway, I don't know what the equivalent is, but I'm sure there's other strings of numbers that you have to memorize elsewhere. And it's the same idea. If you can break it up into groups, then it's easier. So that's really two phrases. It's the pickup, and then it's, but for right now, we can think of that as one big thing. And so you want to look at that and go, okay, there's the first phrase. And as far as how do you know what the phrases are, just look for the pauses, right? So there's a pause at the end of this opening phrase. Right? So that's a phrase followed by its answer. And so you want to look at that and go, okay, well, and if you can slowly, like if you can think in terms of like, can I get to where I can play that without looking at it? And then try to play the answer to it as well. This is a tricky tune because all the phrases are a little bit different. Some blues, you get a lot of repetition in the second line. You don't get that with Pony Blues, which is one of the things that makes it kind of idiosyncratic and cool. But the next thing that happens is we have this pickup phrase here. Now I would argue this is kind of a phrase that ends here. And then this is a long, because this is like the sort of stumbly idea that starts and stops. But then this is the idea that kind of fulfills that sense of stumbling by being more flowing. Right, so I mean, it's kind of subjective what the phrasing is, but that's my subjective take. Bruce, excellent question. Yes, I will talk about that. And then here's the response to all of that, the third line. Big pause, so obviously the end of that phrase, and then the finishing. And this one feels like two different phrases because one's going up and one's going down. And so that would be the melody, those 6 phrases, right? And then as far as putting them back together, just like with the rudiments, with the exercises, you want to look at where are you pinching and where are you playing in between the thumb notes. So a pinch is anytime thumb and fingers are doing something at the same time. And then the alternative is the fingers are in between. So now we can line everything back up. And I call it the horizontal 3-step because you're really trying to get these horizontal things to happen at the same time. The bass is unfolding over time. The melody's unfolding over time. Steady bass and blues phrases. And those two things, when played together, create a third thing, which is the tune. So instead of just sort of wading in and slugging it out beat by beat and bar by bar with a piece of tab, try and look at it as a bass line with a set of phrases over it that last, like where do those phrases fall in the 12-bar form? They tend to fall in the first half of each line. That's another kind of mnemonic tool. It's like, oh, when you change chords to A, that's when the next phrase starts. When you change to B, that's when the next phrase starts. When you come back in, when you're starting off in E, that's when the next phrase starts. So anything you can do to start looking at it more musically and in terms of time unfolding and how many measures and what the form is, those things will all help you to look at it more like music and less like numbers on a page. Off my soapbox, let's talk about this. So we start off and we've got the bass, right? So thumb, fingers, pinch, pinch, and then one and pinch and and then it's basically the bass in bar 3, and then in bar 4 you just have to come in and with where you're going for the melody. Okay, questions about right hand. I'll get to all those in just a second because they're important. Okay, so you can look at each measure as a little exercise, right? Like that's all you need to work on for that moment when you're putting stuff back together. But look at it as, we've got 4 bars, four beats of thumb, right? That's what the bass is doing. What's happening at the same time? Some kind of cool melody. What do you need to be able to do to put those together? This exercise from a few pages back. So try just going back and doing this exercise. And then see if you can put your melody on top. Same thing in the next measure. It's just lining up the melody with the thumb. And then in the next line, we got to do the same kind of stuff, but we're down in open position. So there are the pinches right on the downbeat of 1 and 3. So it's syncopated. But there's all these strong beats where it lines up, and so you can really kind of dig in. Like that. Same thing with the turnaround. So, you can take each bit and sort of each line and just zero in on where the melody's over the bass, then try to put the whole line together with all the sort of resting space in between. Excellent question. These are straight eighths. Pony blues is a straight eighths feel, as opposed to would sound kind of weird. Good question. Okay, let me go back through and answer some of these questions. But that's the horizontal 3-step. And, oh, one more thing. Yeah, if you want to look at this sort of phrase by phrase, who was asking me? Gosh, his name's on the tip of my tongue. Sorry, anyway. I got asked a couple times about phrasing, and I thought that was a really good thing to mention. So, highlighting the phrases. So again, if you just, I'll play through the tune again, and you can just like check that out. So look at the way they're kind of laid out. There's really just 2 phrases per line. This pickup is leading you into this phrase. This pickup is leading you into this phrase. So really just 6 phrases over the whole song. Coming to the next line. So, I saw some questions. I want to get to them. I'm going to go full screen. If I need to bring the tab back, I will. Let's see. What did we have here? Oh, David Wagner's here. Nice to see you, man. And Anton is here. Good to see all you folks. Let's see. Scott says, I matched them. Oh, this must have been when we were talking about the rudiments. I matched them to the phrase I'm working on that week. It's a good way to loosen the fingers also. Yeah, great. Nice to see you, Robbie. Let's see. Oh, yes. Bruce, can you talk about how you're bending some of the notes in the melody? Yes. And I meant to post this. I was going to post this. I'll try to go back and put this on the lesson page. I did a YouTube video about this maybe a month ago. And if I can find it quickly, I'll show you where it is. Yes. Did I do? Let's see. Did this? It was either. Well, I did a whole lesson called the train whistle lick, and I'll put a link to that in the chat. I think I talked about quarter note bends. I'll talk about it here now too. I'm not just going to fob you off with a kind of monster would fob you off with a YouTube video instead of actually showing you live. But it's either that one or it's this 3 Delta Blues techniques. And I cannot remember because I just can't. I'm not going to throw myself under the bus. I don't remember what I talked about in this lesson. But those two. But to answer your question in real time, yes. So basically, anytime you're playing a G natural, right? That's the flat third of E. The sound of blues, I'll try not to go too far into the weeds with this, but basically, like if you're in the key of E major, there's supposed to be a G sharp in the key. That's what, Western music theory says. But in blues, lots of times you hear what's obviously an E major chord in the, in the harmony, but you hear a flat third on top. And so that flat third wants to be goosed towards the major third. But if you were singing, that's what a voice can do, right? That's what a wind instrument can do, or a fiddle can do. Guitar, it's like slide guitar can do it. On a conventional guitar, you need to bend to get it there. And so bending is a whole thing in and of itself. And this is kind of different from like rock guitar bending or blues guitar. It's not really that kind of bending. It's this kind of grace note or flavoring kind of bending. It's called a quarter tone bend because, it's a half step from G to G sharp, and we just want to get the sound of going towards G sharp. And so you're literally going to push the string this way with your left hand. You might want to sort of bunch up like your fingers behind the pinky to help push the string. But pushing it is only half the story. The other half is cutting it off when it gets partway there. You don't want it to get this far. Right? You don't want to go here. You want it to go and you want to cut it off. You don't want to hear it come back down. Right? You want to. And what I'm doing a lot of the time is resting the picking finger that's just played the note back on the string. I know it's kind of hard to see from here, but basically, I'll do it with this finger so you can see it. So as it's going up, I'm bringing the finger back in. I'm actually using my ring finger, but it's harder to see. I'll try to do that. And up here too, if it's a short note, then the fingers are coming back down quickly. If it's a longer note, they're still coming back down. That's like the beginning of that Raikuda arrangement of Tamp 'em Up Solid, right? He's in drop D, but and then he goes and plays a major third, right? But that's the idea. I do, in that train whistle lick YouTube video, I do go over this in a lot more detail. So, but hopefully that answers your question, Bruce. So that comes up here. Yeah, right from the get-go. Here, not so much. But here. more on the single note stuff than on the double stop stuff. Okay, we got more questions. Let me try to get to them. But Bruce, if you have a follow up, please post. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. First of all, we emailed earlier today, Michael, I think, right? And it's supposed to be Megatron, but it's spelled Metatron. So just trying to get this all squared away. People's handles. Takes me a while to learn what their actual name is versus what they post in here. But anyway, good question. Are you pretty strict with which finger plays which string for the melody? Yeah, I have kind of a default that I got from the Ken Perlman book, Fingerstyle Guitar. Index on the third string, middle on the second string, ring finger on the high string. That will kind of move around depending, like if the melody comes down to the fourth string, then the whole thing shifts down. Like if I'm doing that, then I've got my index on the fourth string and my middle finger on the third string. And now I've got my ring finger on the second string. It's just to have a default, and it's just to take a little bit of thinking out of the equation. But it's different from classical guitar, where you want to have this. The idea is to have this like total independence where any finger can play any string, and you can tremolo or you can play rapid fire stuff with a combination of fingers. That doesn't really happen around here. It's pretty atypical for blues guitar. Okay, let's see. We answered the question about straight eighths. Austin in the house. Hey, Jeff, I didn't realize you were in Austin. Anybody who is in Austin or nearby, I'll be posting about this tomorrow, but Roy Bookbinder and I are going to do a show first Saturday of November, and we're doing a workshop the next day too. So anybody, I know a couple people have already written to me about that, but I'll have a sign up for that out tomorrow. So anybody who's interested in learning more about either the show or the live workshop, let me know, because it'll be pretty small. It'll be a good chance to hang out and see Roy up close in his natural environment. He's really a lot of fun. Okay, from Sava. Hey, I try to play the whole thing, but slowly. My left hand is really good with the steady bass. I'm a left-handed genius. It's the tune I trip up on. Yeah, so, zero in on the part you're not good at, basically, and try to get those licks. Try to get that melody into your head sort of phrase by phrase if you can. I saw a comment below about memorization from Valerie. I'm going to get to that, and maybe these two things will kind of tie together. But here's a specific. I'm just kind of going through the thread now, one by one. So Scott wants to know, for measure 8, what finger are you using on the right hand walk up? Measure 8. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is a little flaky. Let me go back to the page without all the. Let's just look at it like this. So we're talking about this section, but yeah. So there's a good example of where the melody is starting on the fourth string. So I would bring everything down one string. So index, middle, ring. But then when I get to the B chord, I would just intuitively kind of go back to like middle finger on the second string, index on the third. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2. And this is also a little tricky. I would then double up on the index. So index, middle, index, index. Like that. Which has more to do with what we have to do when we get to the embellished version, which is even trickier. Okay. Good question. Valerie, I really struggle with memorizing, but I think just starting with memorizing the bass line could help quite a bit, for sure. Yeah, the whole idea of memorizing the shape of the tune in terms of what is the chord progression and how many measures are there of each measure and how do they fit together to make up the total 12 bars. Jazz musicians talk about the form, meaning, is it a 32 bar form? And if it's 32 bars, is it A, B, A, C? Like, first section, second section, back to the first section, new third section. Is it A, B, A? We're mostly playing just 8 and 12 bar blues, but there's a form to that. line 1, mostly the 1 chord. Line 2 starts on the 4, goes back to 1. Line 3 starts on the 5, goes back to 1. That's the form. If you can just start thinking in terms of slightly bigger shapes, then it will definitely help you with the memorization. And starting with the bass is a great place to start. Okay, let's see. There's the that. The beats per measure. Let's see. I mean, you know, there's no rule. As slowly as you need. It's way more important to get all the proportions right. The last thing you want to do is play the easy parts fast and the hard parts slowly. So for practicing, so I'm using this guy, and I like, it's a Tama RW200, which I like because you can turn on these little offbeats. So if that's the tempo, you can subdivide it. So, I mean, for practicing, how slow do you need? I mean, right? I mean, to performance tempo, I mean, and what was that? I don't know. That was like somewhere down in the 60s. Maybe around here. This is 82. That feels pretty good, somewhere around there. But there's no rules, and it doesn't have to be particularly fast. Let's see. Hello, Delphine. Do you get the snappy sound on the E-bass just by digging the string harder than usual? Well, yeah, I've been tapping my foot too, which I think sometimes makes for like extra percussion on the concrete floor here. But if I don't tap my foot, it's still pretty snappy. I guess, I mean, I'm picking away from the face of the guitar a little bit, like when I do that. Yeah, it's coming from picking kind of like at a 45-degree angle away from the face of the guitar. Not all the way underneath, because otherwise I couldn't play with my fingers. But yeah, and I mean, that's not everyone's cup of tea. I've just sort of acquired a taste for that kind of percussive bass stuff, especially on a tune like this. It's like more of a Delta thing. Charlie Patton is a pretty sort of aggressive player, and I sort of wanted to, I mean, I'm not trying to do Charlie Patton, but that was my source material, right? So I'm kind of trying to make it a little, just digging in a little bit more than I might for something that was a little more laid back. So yeah, that's how I'm handling that. From Croatia, oh my gosh, you're supposed to be on vacation, man. Go be on vacation. We'll be here when you get back, I promise. No, I'm glad you're here. Bruce, how are you fretting the E notes on the ands of beats 3 and 4 of measure 10? The E notes on beats 3 and 4 of measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh yeah, okay. Hey, come on. Yeah, okay. So in the fundamental version, I'm just holding down it, basically going to an E shape. So even though we're on a B and I've got a B down here, when we get to the embellished, it gets pretty weird because the bass is moving around. Let's see, this is the embellished number 1 is the same. But embellished number 2, you have to do a whole, it's an E shape until here, and you gotta jump over and treat this like its own little bass lick. But we'll deal with that next week. But that's the answer. The answer is I'm just treating it like an E shape for now. Martin, maybe it's because I'm a singer, but I always learn the melody first so I can hum it to a foot tap and play the bass with the tap and hum so I can feel the groove, add melody, phrases, memorize. Great. Yeah. That's, I like to learn the words too. And even if I'm not going to ultimately sing the song, I feel like it helps to, to learn the words. That helps to capture the phrasing and a little bit of the mood of the song. The mood of this. This is one of those songs where the words aren't great. They're they're pretty dated and deeply misogynist. So, you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt when you play blues. And I will post lyrics in the arranging month, and I will pick and choose the ones that I personally, like the best. I mean, most of these tunes have so many lyrics that you can usually find 3 or 4 verses that kind of convey the vibe of the song in a pretty. Try to find the ones that I can. It's not even a matter of political correctness. It's more a matter of, can I sing this song with a straight face? And a lot of the older blues stuff. First, a lot of it's in an idiom that is not, my native idiom, and it's language, like it's forms of expression that sound like I'm doing a character, and it's really hard to get inside the song and do it with any sense of. For me, even with traditional music, I got to find a way in where I can feel like I can sing the song in the first person, and not feel like I'm acting, right? I mean, you're trying to deliver the song with some modicum of sincerity, and so my choice to cherry pick the lyrics comes more from that than any place else. Like, can I find 2 or 3 verses that, convey the spirit of the song, and then I still feel like I can stand in my own shoes and sing. So that's mostly what I'm doing. And so I'll go through and find lyrics that I feel I can do that. From Matthew. How about a goofy question? Do you play with both feet on the ground or with crossed leg, and which is your tapping foot? Oh, that's not that goofy. I actually had to teach myself to tap my foot when I was in school. And because I wanted to be able to tap on 2 and 4, because that's sort of where that's the backbeat. So, so when I was practicing, I wanted to feel that weight on beats 2 and 4. So I would practice scales and different things. I would be deceiving my public if I implied that I could actually play like that in college, because I couldn't. I was practicing. But I had to really train my foot to do that. Now, a lot of times when I'm playing this kind of music, I'm tapping on all 4 beats. But I usually, if I'm sitting, I have both my feet on the ground and I'm tapping my right foot. That's my tapping foot usually. I guess I spent some time trying to do it with my left foot, but it's typically my right. And when I perform, I prefer to stand. And I don't know if I tap my foot when I stand. I think it's more of I've talked about this before, but I saw Muriel Anderson do a house concert and a guitar workshop, and she talked about how important it is to move when you play, and that is absolutely true. Like, I find that when I'm standing, I have to do some of this, just to sort of feel in my body and feel the pulse of what I'm doing. And so I won't necessarily tap my foot, but something's moving. And I think that is important. But, when I practice, I also practice with the metronome, and I put the metronome on. I try to hear the metronome on 2 and 4. Or I cheat. And one of the other reasons I like this metronome is I will take that. If this is my tempo, I try to hear this not as 1 and 3, but as in 2 and 4. So slow it down a little more. So I'm at 55, which is half of 110. Now, if you're trying to learn your way towards that, you can put the secondary click on 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm even putting a little extra weight on the bass notes on 2 and 4. Not consciously, but that's kind of how it comes out. I tap with the front of my foot. And I've told this story before too, but another big foot tapper, Chris Smither, came to play a show in Austin, and his luggage came in late. And I went back to the airport while he was sound checking to get his luggage because it had the shoes he liked to tap in for the gig. Like he, was traveling in whatever, but the good shoes that were part of his gear were in the suitcase. So he wanted to have the right shoes. Okay. Great. Well, I love getting into the weeds with all these things. Yeah, definitely not Nikes. I had a 15-year-old kid from New York City in one of my summer classes. Well, I had a lot of 15-year-old kids from New York City in my summer classes when I taught in Connecticut. But this one kid came up to me one time and he was like, "Dave, man, how come you're the only counselor who doesn't wear sneakers?" Because I had on some shoes, actual shoes. And I was like, "Listen, man, first of all, I'm not a camp counselor. I'm a teacher. I'm an instructor, damn it, you little punk." And then I just had to explain that I was not going to wear sneakers to work if I could help it. Yeah, they're not Nikes. I gotta wear shoes and pants if I'm gonna play guitar. I mean, not around the house and not on vacation. Yeah, they're okay. As long as we're doing gear, they're Red Wing Iron Rangers. But the thing that makes them loud is that the floor in here is concrete. I don't have a carpet, so yes, they're lace. Yeah, it's good ears, John. You can hear the lace-ups from here. It's like that Peanuts cartoon where Charlie Brown keeps walking back and forth past Snoopy, and Snoopy always knows when he has a cookie in his pocket and when he doesn't. And finally Linus has to explain, he's listening to your footsteps. With the cookie in your pocket, you weigh more. So okay. I know, Bob. High standards here in the Fingerstop. All right. That's kind of everything I came to talk about. If you got more questions, I'm happy to field them for another couple minutes. But that's all the material. What I recommend you do this week is just really zero in on the fundamental. That is the scaffold that we're going to add any embellishments to. I think that's what they're called, Iron Rangers. Yeah, the ones with a little stripe across the toe. And again, if you're new, we're here to help. Go into the forum, post your questions, or just, post an introduction and say hello. There's a little forum button up at the top of the website. And yes, there will be a Redux, not until November, but we will do Redux. Means we're going to revisit an older tune that sort of works in parallel. So we're going to do a redux of Ramsey Avenue Swell, which is a blues in E with a alternate turnaround. And you can find the original in the archive, in the contemporary archive. Yeah, I'll have an updated PDF. And we'll go over the tune in November, and we'll talk about improvisation in December. And I'll work on incorporating. I want to incorporate some of the improvisation. The reason we're going to sort of do a little off axis is that give us a month to get this song going, and then if you want to really get going on another song, we'll do that in November, and then in December we'll take some of the improvising material from Pony Blues and see how we can apply it, what we can apply to Ramsey Avenue as well, and what we need to replace because of the different turnaround. So so we'll look at all that. So this month, next week, the embellished. So in the meantime, take a look at, if you're new, take a look at the 6-week start. If you are not, just jump right in with the fundamental. And if you can, try to do a few of those rudiments at the beginning, try to break it down into the bass and the melody, the phrasing. I'll try to think, I don't want to just sort of like spout off about something that I haven't really thought about. So let me think about that and address that next week. More efficiently memorizing a passage. I'll try to come up with some thoughts about that. Let me just sort of grab that question and make a note about it, because I'll try to get to that. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for being here, everybody. This was a lot of fun. Again, want to welcome everybody who's new. Thrilled to have you here. Hope you get a lot out of this. And I'm here, and the community is here to answer your questions and help you get off to a good start. So anything you're baffled by or puzzled by, let me know. Go to that link on the front page if you have any kind of like tech issues or questions about your password or anything like that, and we'll try to get you squared away.